The first time Olivia Bennett asked me to say I loved her, neither of us was supposed to mean it. 2 hours into the opening night of her Chicago gallery, I had one hand at her back, a fake boyfriend smile on my face, and salted almonds in my jacket because Olivia forgot to eat when she was nervous. She had fixed my crooked cuff before the doors opened and put black coffee beside my elbow because she knew I hated sugar in it. When I caught her worrying the skin beside her thumbnail, I quietly traded her champagne for water, the way I had during late installation nights. We had spent months pretending those small things meant nothing. Then Julian Cross walked through the crowd carrying a velvet ring box. Olivia stopped breathing. He dropped to one knee beneath a white neon sculpture and opened it. "Liv," he said as every phone in the room rose, "come home and marry me." Her fingers closed around mine. For the first time that night, our pretending became the safest thing in the room. Before I tell you what she did next, subscribe and tell me this. If someone proposed in public after you had already said no in private, would you owe them an answer? 3 nights earlier, Olivia had leaned against the edge of my drafting table at the Lakefront Arts Center and said, "I need to borrow you on Friday." I kept measuring the wall elevation on my screen. My truck, my ladder, or my ability to carry objects everyone else insists are not heavy. You. That made me look up. Olivia was 25, 4 years younger than me, and had the kind of composure that made people lower their voices around her without knowing why. She was a junior curator at Lakefront, but for the last 18 months, she had also been building North Line, a tiny independent gallery in West Town, out of a former upholstery shop with brick walls, bad wiring, and rent that made me question the moral structure of commercial real estate. Friday was Northline's first real opening. I had helped hang half the show after hours, not because she had asked. Mostly she did not ask. I had simply started appearing with a laser level and work gloves. "What does borrowing me involve?" I asked. She looked past me toward the empty fabrication bay. Julian RSVP'd. I knew the name, but only in fragments. Former fiancé. Old money. Family foundation. A man Olivia had once planned to marry, and then, according to office mythology, stopped planning to marry with such efficiency that nobody had dared ask why. "He's coming to the opening? He donated to one of the artists 3 years ago. The invitation list got shared through the artist's studio. So uninvite him." I did. And? He replied that he understood I was emotional. I put down the stylus. Olivia gave me a humorless smile. "Exactly." "What do you need me to do? Pretend we're together." I stared at her long enough that she shifted one foot behind the other. "You've thought this through," I said. "I made a spreadsheet." "Of course you did. It has contingencies. Nothing says passion like contingencies." That got the smallest real smile out of her. I should have said no. Not because the plan was absurd, although it was. I should have said no because I had been in love with Olivia for 8 months, 2 weeks, and some number of hours I refused to calculate. Instead I asked, "Rules?" Her shoulders loosened by maybe half an inch. No kissing. Easy. No invented vacations, anniversaries, pet names, or stories about how we met. We met in the freight elevator while you were threatening a crate. The crate deserved it, agreed. No fighting with Julian, that one sounds less easy. Marcus, I won't start anything, and if I say blue frame, we leave. No questions until we're outside. I nodded. Anything else? She hesitated. Don't make it convincing enough that you forget it isn't real. There are sentences that hurt because they are cruel. That one hurt because it was careful. I leaned back in my chair and gave her the grin I used when clients changed dimensions after fabrication. You're safe, I'm an excellent liar. Her expression changed for an instant, like I had disappointed her in some way neither of us could name. Right, she said. Friday at 6. On Friday, I got to North Line at 4:30 and found Olivia standing on a ladder in a silk green dress, trying to adjust a track light with one hand. You own 3 ladders, I said. Why are you using the one with the warning sticker peeling off? Because the other 2 are holding art. I steadied the ladder. I had it. I know. That was how we worked. She would say she had it. I would say I knew. Then I would hold the ladder anyway without taking the screwdriver from her hand. When she climbed down, she looked at my navy suit and blinked. What? You clean up disturbingly well? I was going to say the same thing, but human resources has made me afraid of adjectives. She laughed, and some of the pressure left the room. Then she reached up and straightened my tie. Her fingers paused at my collar. Mine tightened around the packet of almonds in my pocket. You're nervous, I said. I'm touching your tie. You're pretending that's why. She dropped her hand. You're annoying. Also why you borrowed me. At 6, the doors opened. By 7:30, North Line was full. Collectors moved between canvases with wine glasses held like delicate opinions. A local critic spent 11 minutes in front of a charcoal series Olivia had fought to include. 2 pieces sold. Then a third. Olivia's face changed every time a red dot went beside an artist's name. Not pride exactly, relief with a pulse. I stayed close without hovering. When she forgot to eat, I handed her almonds. When a donor trapped her in a story about his house in Santa Fe, I appeared with, "Sorry, I need the curator for 30 seconds," and rescued her. When I got cornered by an architect who believed every conversation needed to include the phrase adaptive reuse, Olivia drifted over, slid her arm through mine, and said, "I need my boyfriend." Her eyes met mine on the last word. For half a second, the room disappeared. Then she squeezed my arm once. Performance. I remembered the rule. At 8:07, Julian's arrived. I knew it was him because Olivia went completely still beside me. He was tall, polished, and not remotely drunk or wild-eyed. That almost made it worse. He moved through the room as though he had been invited, greeting 2 donors by name. He wore a dark suit and an expression of calm certainty. "Blue frame?" I murmured. Olivia swallowed. "Not yet. You don't owe him brave." "I know." Julian stopped in front of us. His gaze moved from Olivia's hand on my arm to my face. "Marcus Hill," he said. I had never met him. Olivia's fingers tightened. Julian smiled without warmth. "I've heard a lot about you. That makes one of us." "Marcus," Olivia warned softly. I shut up. Julian looked at her. "Can we speak privately?" "No." He nodded as if she had answered a different question. "I thought you might say that." Then he reached into his coat. I felt Olivia move before I understood why. The velvet box appeared. "Julian," she said. "Don't." He stepped backward into the open space beneath the neon sculpture. People noticed. Of course they noticed. "Please don't do this," Olivia said. He went down on one knee anyway. The room became a machine built out of silence and phone cameras. "Liv," Julian said, opening the box. "I know you think I failed you. I know you think I tried to choose your life for you. But we were good before everything got twisted. I still have the ring. I still have the future we planned. Marry me." Olivia did not move. The ring caught the gallery light. She had once worn it. I could feel the tremor in her hand where it held mine. Julian looked around at the crowd and then back at her. "Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me none of it mattered." That was when I understood the trap. He might not have meant it as one. He might honestly have believed the size of the gesture proved the size of the love. But every person in that room had become weight on her answer. I stepped forward. Not in front of Olivia. Beside her. "Everybody put your phones down," I said. A few people actually did. Julian's jaw tightened. "This is between Olivia and me. Then it shouldn't need an audience." "Marcus." Olivia said my name quietly. I looked at her. "Not at Julian. Do you want to leave?" Her eyes were bright, furious, terrified. Then she looked at the ring. "No," she said. Julian exhaled like hope. Olivia released my hand and took one step toward him. "No, I don't want to leave my own gallery," she said. "And no, I will not marry you." The room seemed to contract. Julian rose slowly. "Liv, I told you no 14 months ago. You decided I was confused. I told you not to come tonight. You decided I was emotional. Now you're asking me a question in front of 100 people because you think I'll be kinder to you if strangers are watching." His face lost color. "That isn't what this is. It is what it feels like." He looked at me then. Something painful crossed his expression. "So this is real." Olivia's mouth opened. I should have let her answer. Instead, because I was angry and afraid and far too aware of how cold her hand had felt in mine, I said, "What's real is that love doesn't make someone answer under pressure." Julian stared at me for a long moment. Then he closed the ring box. "You always did like men who let you walk away," he said to Olivia. Her face went white. I took a step forward. She caught my wrist. "No." That one word was for me. I stopped. Julian looked at her hand on me, gave a small nod that seemed to cost him something, and left. The crowd did not know what to do. Olivia did. She turned toward the room, lifted her champagne glass with a hand that only shook once, and said, "Well, that was not on the program. The good news is the art still is." A few people laughed, then more. Conversation restarted in broken pieces. Olivia smiled until nobody was looking directly at her. Then she whispered, "Blue frame." And I got her out. The alley behind Northline smelled like wet brick and fryer oil from the restaurant next door. I expected Olivia to cry. Instead, she kicked off her heels. One landed under the fire escape. "Those cost too much for that," I said. "Then don't tell me what I paid." I retrieved the shoe, set both heels beside the back door, and took off my jacket. She shook her head. "I'm not cold." "I know." I put it around her shoulders anyway. For 30 seconds, she stood there with both palms pressed to her eyes. I did not touch her. That mattered. With Olivia, especially then, it mattered. When she lowered her hands, I held up my phone. "Do you want me to call anyone?" "My sister." "No. She'll drive here from Milwaukee and commit a felony." Tempting. Marcus. I said tempting, not helpful. A breath escaped her that was almost a laugh. I handed her water from the case by the door. Then I asked, "Do you want me to tell the staff what happened, or do you want to?" "You. Just tell them I'm taking 10 minutes and nobody discusses it with guests." "Done. And the red dots? 3 sales are still 3 sales." Her eyes shut for a second. That was when she finally looked breakable. Not because Julian had proposed, because this night had belonged to her for maybe 90 minutes before he had turned it into a referendum on her private life. I went inside, found Lena, Olivia's business partner, and gave her the instructions exactly as Olivia had said them. No embellishment, no tragic whispering, no heroic version where I had saved anyone. Then I went to the catering table, made a plate with half a turkey sandwich and 2 strawberries, and brought it outside, Olivia stared at it. I hate you. You can hate me after 6 bites. 4, 5. She took the plate. That was the first thing I did for her after Julian left. The second was less visible. I found the freelance photographer and asked him, politely, not to publish any images of the proposal without Olivia's consent. He agreed. Then I asked Olivia whether she wanted me to speak to guests who had recorded it. She looked exhausted. You can't put the internet back in the bottle. No, but I can ask the people still in this building to act like human beings. Ask. Don't threaten. I never threaten. She gave me a look. I use very specific hypotheticals. Marcus, ask. Got it. The third thing was the one she noticed the next morning. By then, a 23-second video had been posted anyway. It cut off before Olivia explained why she was saying no. The clip showed Julian kneeling, me stepping forward, and Olivia refusing him. The caption read, Chicago Gallery opening turns into love triangle disaster. At 7:15 Saturday morning, I was at Northline replacing the bent track light bracket someone had knocked crooked during the crowd surge. Olivia came through the front door wearing jeans, sneakers, and the same expression people wore in airport terminals after canceled flights. She stopped when she saw me on the ladder. What are you doing? Committing electrical crimes before breakfast. You were here until midnight. So were you. You don't own this place. Neither does that bracket. She set 2 coffees on the desk, 1 black. I climbed down. You brought mine? You always get here early when you're worried. There it was again. The quiet accounting we kept of each other. She nodded toward the back office. We need to talk. I followed. Her desk looked like a paper storm. Sales forms, artist agreements, a florist invoice. Her laptop displayed 47 unread emails. She closed it. I'm sorry. For what? For putting you in that position. You didn't put Julian on one knee. I asked you to perform a relationship in front of him. You asked me to stand next to you. Her eyes held mine. That's not the same thing? No, it came out sharper than I intended. She leaned back. Why are you angry? Because you're apologizing for needing backup instead of being angry that a man ignored 3 separate no's. I can do both. Fine. And because you said something to Julian that sounded very real. The room went quiet. I knew exactly which sentence she meant. Love doesn't make someone answer under pressure. I looked down at my coffee. It was real. Her breath changed. I added, the principle was real. Something closed behind her eyes. Right. I hated myself a little, but I had learned years ago that saying the true thing at the wrong time could turn it into a weapon. Olivia was less than 12 hours removed from a public proposal by a man who had once been her fiancé. I was not going to follow that by putting my own feelings in her hands and calling it honesty. So I asked the question that mattered more. What did he mean when he said you always liked men who let you walk away? She went very still. You don't have to tell me, I said. I know. I waited. After a while, she reached into the bottom drawer and pulled out a thin gray folder. Inside was a printout of an email. The sender was Julian. The recipient was the director of a curatorial residency in New York. The message thanked them for considering Olivia and withdrew her application because of upcoming family commitments. I read it twice. The date was from 2 months before Olivia's planned wedding. You didn't send this? No. He had access to your email? To my laptop? We were living together. My jaw tightened. He told me about it after the residency director called to confirm because she thought the wording sounded strange. Julian said New York made no sense when we were about to get married. He said we had already decided Chicago was our base. Had you? We had discussed it. I said I wanted to see if I got the residency before deciding anything. I handed the paper back carefully. Olivia traced the edge with her thumb. That wasn't the only thing. He introduced me to collectors as if I worked for his family foundation. He redirected a studio visit because he thought the artist was too volatile. He told a board member I wasn't available for a committee because wedding planning was taking too much of my time. Her mouth twisted. The worst part is that every single thing could be explained as help. Individually. He was helping me manage my schedule, helping me think long-term, helping me avoid mistakes. But together? Together I woke up one morning and realized my life had become very efficient, and I wasn't making any of the decisions. I understood then why she had put rules around our fake relationship, why she had said no kissing before I had even agreed, why I had learned, without anyone teaching me, not to take the screwdriver out of her hand when I steadied the ladder. Why didn't you tell people? Because I didn't want my career explained by him. Not while I was with him, not after I left him. Fair. And because... She stopped. What? She looked toward the front room. Julian thought there was someone else. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. There wasn't. I believe you. He thought it was you. I stared at her. Olivia folded the email once, then unfolded it. We were still at the museum together then. You and I worked late on the Calder loan. You brought me dinner twice. I talked about you at home. That's evidence now? No. Her voice sharpened. It wasn't. But Julian noticed that I laughed with you. He noticed I asked your opinion on installations when I had stopped asking his opinion about anything. I remembered that winter. Olivia had gone from joking with me every day to becoming carefully professional for almost 2 months. I had assumed I had crossed a line without knowing it. You pulled away from me. Yes. Because he asked you to? Because I was trying to prove he was wrong. That hurt more than I expected. She saw it. I'm sorry. Don't apologize for surviving your engagement. That's not what I'm apologizing for. I looked at her. She held my gaze. I'm apologizing because part of why I asked you to come last night was ugly. How ugly? I knew he hated the idea of you. I stood up. Olivia, I wanted him to see that he didn't get to decide who I stood next to anymore. I walked to the window, then back. So I was a weapon. No, you just said you were the person I knew he couldn't intimidate. That is not better. I know. I had never heard her say those 2 words so quietly. For once, there was no spreadsheet between us. No joke, no fake boyfriend rule. Just a woman who had used a friend as armor because she had been scared, and a man who loved her enough to be angry that she had needed armor at all. I rubbed a hand over my face. What else? She blinked. What? If we're done pretending this was a simple favor, what else don't I know? Her answer came after a long pause. I had a bag packed in my office last night. For what? If Julian made the opening impossible, I was going to close Northline and take a 6-month curatorial contract in New York. The room seemed to tilt. You were going to leave? I was going to choose the version of my life that was still mine. I understood the sentence. I hated how much I understood it. By Monday, the video had been viewed more than 200,000 times. Northline's problem was no longer Julian. It was the story everyone else had decided to tell about us. A morning show wanted Olivia on air for a segment called Proposal Gone Wrong. A gossip site found an old engagement photo. One collector emailed to ask whether Friday had been a publicity stunt. An artist whose work was scheduled for October, called Lena, worried that the gallery would become known for spectacle instead of art. Olivia answered every business email herself. I did not offer to take over. I did other things. I replaced the gallery's broken back door lock because the video had shown enough of the exterior for strangers to identify the building. I put privacy film on the office window. I brought over a folding table when 3 local artists volunteered for a Sunday open house. I made a list of every person who had asked for comment and handed it to Olivia without replying to any of them. "Why is this color-coded?" she asked. "Because chaos deserves disrespect." She looked at the columns. "You separated actual arts reporters from people who just want the proposal. Your work gets first priority." She stared at me a little too long. "What?" "Nothing. Your nothing has eyebrows." She looked back at the spreadsheet. "Thank you. That afternoon, a representative from the Neighborhood Arts Incubator called. Northline had received a small launch grant through them, enough to cover 3 months of utilities and insurance. They were not withdrawing it, but they wanted a meeting about reputational risk. Olivia hung up and said, "I would like to set the phrase reputational risk on fire. I can get a metal bucket." She laughed, despite herself. The meeting was Wednesday. Before that, Julian asked to speak with her, not by showing up, not by calling 12 times. He sent one email. "I was at Northline when Olivia read it. He says he'll meet wherever I choose," she said. "He says Lena can be there. That's better. You sound disappointed. I had prepared several excellent threats. No threats. Hypotheticals." She rolled her eyes. Then she surprised me. "Will you come?" I looked at her carefully. "Because you want me there, or because he does not?" Her mouth opened, then closed. "Because I want you there, so I went." We met in a hotel cafe on Michigan Avenue at 3 in the afternoon. Lena sat beside Olivia. I sat 2 chairs away, far enough that nobody could mistake me for her spokesman. Julian arrived alone. He looked tired. That helped more than I expected. It is harder to turn someone into a monster when he looks like a man who has not slept. He did not apologize immediately. He sat down and said, "I thought you would say yes." Olivia's face hardened. Julian rubbed his thumb over the edge of his coffee cup. "That isn't an excuse. I'm telling you how far from reality I was." She said nothing. I kept thinking if I could make the gesture big enough, you'd understand I was serious. "I knew you were serious," Olivia said. "That was never the problem." He nodded. Then he looked at me. "I owe you an apology, too." I raised an eyebrow. "For making you part of something you didn't agree to." I nearly laughed at the irony. "Olivia did not," Julian continued. "I was jealous of you before I had any right to be." "You had no right after either," Olivia said. "I know that now." He looked at her, and for 1 second I could see how they had once loved each other. That was its own kind of ache. "I thought partnership meant reducing uncertainty," he said. "My parents did everything together. Same advisors, same accounts, same plans. I thought if I could make our future efficient, you'd feel secure." Olivia's voice was quiet. I felt managed. "I know. No. You know now." He took that without defending himself. Then he slid the ring box across the table. Olivia stiffened. "I'm not giving it to you," he said. "I'm returning a choice. Sell it, donate it, throw it in the lake. It belonged to my grandmother, but she left it to me, not to my future wife. I used the story of it to make you feel obligated." Olivia stared at the box. "Take it back," she said. Julian's mouth tightened. "That's my choice." After a moment, he put it back in his coat. That was the first time I saw Olivia breathe normally around him. When he left, she sat still for a long time. Lena touched her shoulder, then went to take a call outside. I stayed where I was. "You okay?" I asked. "No." "Good answer." She looked at me. I thought I would feel victorious. "Do you want to?" "No, I want to feel done. That sounds more useful." She smiled faintly. Then she said, "He was right about one thing." I waited. "I did talk about you all the time." My pulse kicked. Olivia looked down at her hands. "When I was deciding whether to apply for the New York residency, you told me I had the best eye in the building and the worst instinct for asking permission. I remember. You were insulting me. I contain multitudes. You made me apply. I told you to stop waiting for somebody to certify you. You made me think I could build North Line." The cafe noise seemed to pull farther away. "You built North Line," I said. "I know." She looked at me again. "But you were there at the beginning. There are moments when a man can ruin his own life by moving 6 inches. I wanted to move those 6 inches. I wanted to reach across the space between our chairs, take her hand, and tell her that every wall I had helped paint, every crate I had carried, every coffee I had accepted from her had been my coward's version of devotion. Instead I said, "I'm glad." Her eyes searched my face. Then my phone rang. I almost ignored it. The screen showed my boss. I answered. 10 minutes later, I had an offer to lead a 6-month traveling exhibition project based in Seattle. It was the kind of assignment I had worked toward for years. It started in 3 weeks. I told Olivia about Seattle before I told anyone else. We were back at North Line, standing between 2 unpacked crates. "That's huge," she said. "It is. You should take it." I crouched and started cutting tape from a crate. "You don't have to sound that relieved." "I'm not relieved," you answered in under a second. "Because it is a 6-month lead role. You have wanted one." I kept my eyes on the tape. She crouched across from me. "Marcus?" "What?" "You're doing that thing." "What thing?" "Making a joke in your head so you don't have to say the sentence." I looked at her. She knew me too well. The problem was that I had trained her by accident. At 24, I had been engaged to a woman named Hannah. 3 months before our wedding, my younger sister was hit by a car while biking home from work. She survived, but the recovery was long. My mother was working nights. My father's back was bad. I became the person who handled physical therapy schedules, grocery runs, insurance appeals, and every small emergency nobody else had energy for. Hannah lasted 4 months. When she ended things, she was crying. She was not cruel. That almost made it worse. "I don't know how to love someone who only lets me need him." I heard something different. I heard, "Being needed makes you useful. But being vulnerable makes you exhausting." So I became very good at being useful. I could fix a light, carry a crate, bring coffee, stand beside a woman while her ex proposed. I could do almost anything except ask someone to choose me. Olivia was still waiting. I set the utility knife down. "I haven't decided about Seattle." "Why not?" "Because leaving feels different than it did a week ago." Her expression softened, then guarded itself. "Don't stay because of me. I didn't say I would." "Good." That sounded relieved too. "Stop doing that." "Doing what?" "Making me responsible for a decision before you have made it." The words landed hard, because she was right. I stood. "So what am I allowed to say?" Her face changed. "Anything true?" "Fine. The true thing is I want the job." She nodded. "The other true thing is I don't want 6 months away from you." Her fingers curled around the edge of the crate. "I am not asking you to tell me what to do. I'm not asking you to promise anything. I'm telling you why the decision is hard." Olivia looked down. When she spoke, her voice was almost a whisper. "Thank you." It hurt, but it was honest and demanded no result. The next morning was the incubator meeting. Their director, Sonia Patel, cared that Northline's name was being dragged through gossip sites. "We can help redirect attention," Sonia said. but I need to know whether the relationship angle is going to keep generating stories. Olivia glanced at me. I said nothing. She folded her hands on the table. Marcus and I are not a publicity strategy, she said. My personal life is not part of the grant. If that means Northline loses support, I understand. But I will not issue a romantic statement to make strangers comfortable. Sonia studied her. Then she smiled. Good. Olivia blinked. I was hoping you would say that. Send me the October artist schedule. We'll make the next press release about the work. Outside, Olivia leaned against the brick wall and laughed, then slowly went quiet. Marcus. I knew before she said it. I can't do this fake thing anymore. My chest tightened. I know. It was supposed to make me feel safer. Now every time you touch my back in front of someone, I wonder whether I'm using you. You're not. I used you at the opening. You told me the truth afterward. That doesn't erase it. No. She looked surprised by my agreement. I stepped closer, but not close enough to trap the space. I'm angry you used me to get under Julian's skin. I'm also glad you called me. Both can be true. Her eyes filled. I don't know what to do with you when you say things like that. Imagine how I feel. I usually avoid them. She laughed once, broken around the edges. Then I said the thing I had been trying not to say. I love you. Her eyes closed. The city moved around us. A bus sighed at the corner. Somebody rolled a trash bin down an alley. Nothing cinematic happened. I hated that. I loved that. I have loved you for months, I said, before the opening, before you asked me to pretend. I did not tell you because you had fought too hard to get your choices back, and I was afraid my feelings would become one more thing you had to manage. She opened her eyes. Marcus, I'm not asking you to answer. That sounds noble. It is not. I would very much like an answer. A wet laugh escaped her. But I'm not entitled to one today. She looked at me for a long time. Then she said, I believe you. My heart did something stupid. She added, and that scares me. There it was. Not rejection, not acceptance. A door left closed because opening it too quickly would have made the whole house shake. I need time, she said. Not because of Julian, because I don't know yet where gratitude ends and love begins. You have been carrying things for me for so long. I can stop. I don't want you to stop caring. Then what do you want? I want to find out whether we can stand next to each other when nothing is on fire. That sentence hurt less than it should have. Maybe because it sounded like a future. I took the Seattle job. Olivia did not ask me to stay. I did not ask her to. For the next 3 weeks, we stopped pretending. At work, we were colleagues. At Northline, I helped only when she asked. Once, I started toward a ladder and stopped myself. Growth is ugly on you, Olivia said. I'm suffering. She climbed down and handed me a wrench. Hold this. I did. That was better. We were slowly learning that care could be offered without becoming a debt, and accepted without surrendering the right to say no again. Northline survived. One artist postponed, but the October show earned a thoughtful local review, and Sonia's organization renewed the grant through winter. Julian sent one final note through Lena, confirming he would not contact Olivia again. She did not suddenly forgive him. She did eventually stop checking the door every time it opened. The night before I flew to Seattle, I went to Northline to say goodbye. I expected a conversation. Olivia handed me a paint roller. There's a scuff by the storage room. I stared at her. You waited until my last night in Chicago to put me to work? You have been unbearable about being useful. I have a condition, I know. We painted the wall. Then we sat on the gallery floor eating takeout noodles from cartons because all the chairs had been moved for the next installation. No champagne, no audience, no ring, At 10:30, she reached into her tote bag and handed me a small object wrapped in brown paper. It was a new leather strap for my camera bag. The old one had been cracking for months. "You noticed," I said. "You complain loudly. I have never complained about that strap. Then apparently I notice other things." I looked at her. She looked back. "I'm still not ready to promise you 6 months from now," she said. I didn't ask. "I know. I'm saying it because I want to." I waited. "But I know where gratitude ends now." My pulse slowed and sped up at the same time. "Where?" She moved closer. "About here." Then she kissed me. It was careful, warm, and interrupted because I smiled against her mouth. When we pulled apart, I rested my forehead against hers. "So," I said, "are we still pretending?" "No, are you sure? I had contingencies." I deleted the spreadsheet. "That is how I know this is serious." She laughed. Then she took my hand. "I want a real first date when you come back in 2 weeks. I'm back for 1 weekend. Then don't waste it. What are the rules? No exes, no crowds, no rescuing. Can I bring almonds?" She considered. Approved. 2 months later, long distance was still inconvenient. We handled it with Tuesday video calls, cheap flights when we could afford them. And one rule: neither of us made career decisions for the other. Distance felt like a schedule, not a threat to either one of us. When I came home one Friday in November, I found Olivia on a ladder at Northline, adjusting a track light. I stopped below her. She looked down. "You going to tell me the ladder is dangerous?" "No." "Growth." "Terrible, isn't it?" She smiled, climbed down, and handed me a black coffee. I reached into my coat and gave her a packet of salted almonds. Our hands touched. No one was watching. That was the part that mattered. She leaned into me, warm and ordinary, while people moved through the gallery around us. "I missed you," she said. I kissed her temple. "I missed you too." For a long time, I thought love proved itself by becoming indispensable. Olivia thought love became dangerous the moment it influenced a choice. We were both wrong in ways that made sense. The better version was smaller. Ask before helping. Tell the truth before resentment. Let the other person choose. And when they choose you, do not squeeze so hard that choosing becomes another kind of cage. If this story stayed with you, like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments, what matters more in love, a grand gesture or the quiet freedom to keep choosing each other after the room has gone silent?